Hello and welcome to the Blood Red Daily News. I'm joined by my fellow Liverpool.com writer, Thomas Beattie, and today, again, it feels like we haven't really talked about positive things all season up until, these last month or so. But again, we're going to talk about something positive, and that's technically Liverpool are only 1 point away from a top four finish in the Champions League. I mean, it does come with a caveat of Manchester United having a game in hand, but after this weekend's result, Tom, it's looking a lot better for Liverpool, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the great thing is that we're kind of getting our job done as well, and I think that's obviously, the first thing that we've got to do really. So we've tallied up 6 wins on the bounce now. So we need 3 more, and obviously, that'd be us kind of getting our house in order. But yeah, clearly we've got to rely on results elsewhere. But obviously, the events of Sunday, I mean, it does give you that glimmer of hope. I think the teams around us could slip up. I mean, you look at the run of fixtures for both teams. I mean, it is a difficult run, and obviously in the Premier League, that's the name of the game, really. That clearly every team brings its own challenges, and there's obviously going to be difficult games there for both sides. So we're just kind of hoping now. I think that they do slip up, and we've kind of got to do our job for the final 3 games and hope that it lands our way, kind of thing now.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, they are difficult games, but you'd expect a top Newcastle and a top Manchester United at their top form to beat those teams. I mean, the big team I think that Liverpool are going to be relying on, which right now you probably don't want to be relying on, is Chelsea, because they still have to play Manchester United and Newcastle, and I think Newcastle is on the final day for them. So that's one possibility for Liverpool where either team can drop points if Chelsea are at their best, but they very rarely have been at their best, and particularly under Frank Lampard. Although, as if we are looking at the weekend's result, they did get a victory, and maybe that will sort of galvanise them to get a few more points on the board.
Well, I'm hoping there's that kind of emotional pull factor, a little bit of trying to give Frank a bit of a send off, and then final few games. So we're just kind of open. I think that Chelsea kind of rally a little bit now and end the season strong, because that's going to give Liverpool a chance ultimately. And there are a couple of tricky fixtures in there, particularly for United. I think obviously Bournemouth away, we come unstuck. Obviously we were going through a difficult run at the time, but I'd say that United, they're coming off the back of a couple of defeats now away from home. And I did watch the game against West Ham, and I felt sometimes they struggled to kind of get out of second gear, and they didn't kind of look as impressive as they did early in the season. And you're just kind of hoping now from a Liverpool perspective that maybe the amount of games they've had to play is kind of catching up with them a little bit. I felt they looked a little bit tired in that game, and they didn't have that extra kind of push at the end to kind of go for an equaliser. So you're hoping them tricky fixtures are going to kind of catch them out a little bit. And, even I think they're going to have to play, obviously, Chelsea, but, Fulham at home as well. We had a difficult game against Fulham, I'd say, at Anfield. I'd say it was pretty evenly matched at times, that game. So, yeah, there's a lot for Liverpool to kind of be optimistic about. And it's kind of unbelievable in some respects that, 6 games ago, basically, I'd have said we were dead and buried in terms of Champions League football. But things have kind of gone our way. And I think the players, they've just got to be really kind of galvanised by this now. And like I say, we've got to do our job, but, you're hoping now it's kind of in the minds of the United players and the Newcastle players that Liverpool are hot on the tails as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And you talk about United, but I think Newcastle as well have a difficult run in. They still have to play Brighton, Chelsea, I mean, I don't think Chelsea are competing for anything now, but they, like you mentioned, they will have that sentimental aspect on the final day. Brighton though are competing for European football, and they're still
mm,
tough. I know Liverpool had it easy when they went to the Ellen Road and did well against Leeds United, but Leeds United
mm,
desperately fighting for relegation, and I think that's still
definitely,
going
yeah.
to be tough for Newcastle playing away from home next up. So
Mm,
I do think there is hope in Newcastle. As obviously Newcastle, Liverpool only 2 points away from Newcastle as well. So
mm.
a couple of drop points and Liverpool can catch up with them as well.
Well, on the Newcastle side of it, I think the one plus point for Liverpool is that Newcastle haven't really been in this situation before, particularly, you know, in kind of Klopp's time anyway. And, the kind of maybe sort of rookies in this sort of situation chasing for top four. Obviously, they've had a great season, and, they have been impressive at times. They haven't lost many games. Um, and they deserve credit for that. But I do think maybe the pressure might get to them in them final few games when kind of Liverpool are hot on the tails, and we've kind of got that muscle memory a little bit, and so have United, to be fair, of going in top four races and getting yourself in there. So yeah, that could kind of play a factor as well. And with the Leeds game, it's Big Sam's kind of, I think it must be his first home game with Leeds. So you can imagine there he'll be looking to get a big result. And I was thinking last night, maybe, if I had to put money on it, I'd be thinking maybe a 0-0 or even a 1-0 for Leeds, even though Newcastle have been impressive this season. It just has that kind of ring of something about it, that game, I think. So, from a Liverpool perspective, again, we'll be open that the game against Leeds is a bit of a difficult game for Newcastle, and that's kind of what you're hoping for now, that there's a couple of slip-ups along the way in terms of the next 3 or 4 games for both teams, really.
I mean, obviously, all of this is redundant though if Liverpool don't win their last
Yeah,
3 games, and so let's focus on that as well a little bit. I mean, Leicester away from home does sound like a little bit of a tricky fixture. Leicester
yeah,
need points on the table. They are fighting for relegation, as ridiculous as that sounds. I mean, who would have thought Leicester would be in this position? Aston Villa at home, they're still kind of in the run for a
yeah,
potential European spot, so they'll need to get results. I think probably Southampton on the final day. I mean, I think Southampton are relegated at this point, and they probably
mm,
will be on the final day. But
mm,
they all want to go away from the Premier League and have one final good result, especially at home, and give the fans something to celebrate. So these
yeah,
are going to be tricky fixtures for Liverpool as well.
absolutely. And this is another thing where I've been thinking recently. There's not many teams kind of on the beach at this point. There's been previous seasons where you'd have maybe 5 or 6 teams at least at this point where they're kind of just going through the motions a little bit. I think it's probably because of that extra European place. The likes of Brighton, for example, Aston Villa, they're kind of going for that final European Conference League place. So it adds that little bit of needle, I think, to them games, like you say. And Leicester, of course, they're fighting for their lives down the bottom, and it looks really tight down there as well. I think there's 3 or 4 teams within a point of each other. And you never know with Southampton as well. I mean, I agree with you that they kind of look like the ones, obviously the rock bottom at the table now. They kind of look like the ones to me who might be relegated at this point, but you just never know. I mean, stranger things have happened, and there's that seed of doubt, obviously, that you go to an away ground and possibly they need the points to stay up. Does it kind of make that game even trickier then? But like you say, we've just got to do our job now. And there's been tricky games in that 6-game period, of course. And, even the Arsenal game, obviously they're going for the title. So a point there at the end of the season might be seen as a good point. So, we've done our job in the past 6 or 7 games, and we've just got to hope now that we continue the run, because, it's been almost like championship winning form for them 7 games. And you've seen a real change in sort of the way we've been playing, and the players look like they're enjoying the football now. So it feels a bit like we're coming into form at the right time, sort of thing. So we've just got to continue that now, and I think that's the main thing, really.
Yeah, I think all in all, Liverpool can get 71 points, and
Yeah,
if we look at the last few seasons, that's always been enough to secure
yeah,
Champions League football. So I think potentially that's the hope. Just win all your games, and then
yeah,
hope for the best at this point. It
yeah.
looks like 71 points might be enough.
Mm,
I mean, who knows? At this point, I think Liverpool still need a few things to go in their favour, but you
yeah,
just got to hope at this point. And I think had we would have taken this situation probably a month
yeah.
ago when it
Oh,
looked like
yeah.
that we weren't even talking about Champions League football. I mean, we were talking about, are
No.
we going to get the Europa Conference League spot or the
Mm.
Europa League spot? So I think all in all, you'd take this situation.
Well, I'd kind of come to terms with being in the Europa League because I thought, well, when you weigh it up in your head and you think, oh, it's still Europe and we'll still have them knockout rounds for, European trips and that sort of thing. But like you say, I mean, the Champions League that's the bread and butter for Liverpool, really. When we all admit it. So, that half a chance, it just gets you excited again, doesn't it? And I think we've got to take our chance now, like you say. 10 games ago, you'd have never believed that we'd be in the position we're in now. And things have just seemed they've dropped our way a little bit. And I saw kind of a graphic that someone put up on Twitter. I think it was, the start of this win and run that we've been on. So with 9 games to go, I think we were 12 points off the top 4. Now, obviously, teams have got a game in hand on us, but we're still within a point of them. And I think to claw that back, it just shows the mentality of the players, I think, as well. And I've just got a feeling that they're not going to let it slip now. I think that, to use a phrase from the past, obviously, but I feel as though, yeah, I don't feel we'll let it go now. I think that we'll run with it and hopefully, things go our way again in the next kind of 4 or 5 games. And yeah, stranger things have happened. So, but it does remind me of the COVID season a lot. I think we were possibly in a worse state with 10 games to go in that season, and somehow we ended up finishing third, which would be a miracle this season as well if we did. But it is possible
I
that
think
we
we
can
got
do it.
around the same sort of points as well. I think it
Yeah,
was around
yeah,
71, 72, 73. So it was around the same sort of points as well.
yeah. I mean, it's strange how much the 2 seasons have mirrored each other in a way. Obviously, the middle period of the season we've been pretty woeful in both of them. And the back end of the season we really rallied. So yeah, hopefully we just carry it on now. But it's they do keep you guessing, Liverpool. It always seems to be the way. So there might be a twist and turn to come as well.
Let's hope you haven't jinxed us with that Steven Gerrard reference as well,
And
Tom.
now I regretted it as soon as I said it. My mind went straight back to it. So
Anyway, I think we'll probably wrap it up here. Let's hope you're right. Let's hope Liverpool do get it. But as always, there's plenty of exciting stuff happening right until the end of the season for Liverpool. And as usual, we'll be covering it all on the Blood Red and on Liverpool.com as well. So do make sure to check out all the written content and all the video content as well. Thank you everyone for joining in, and thanks Tom for
yes.